Hey guys, so this is going to be a test of something that we here at the Geek Podcast Network are really going to be trying out over the next little while. Part of my job is live streaming for my company, and I really like doing it. So this really is a test run for what we're kind of hoping will become a regular thing across the network. Now, tonight is The Last Jedi. I am super excited about this, and today is really the first day I've been super excited about this. If you followed the Geek to Geek podcast for any amount of time, then you probably know that Void and I are going a little bit crazy over Star Wars over the years. You can go back and listen to our Rogue One discussions. We have a Force Awakens discussion. We have an upcoming Star Wars video game discussion. We've got everything. We love this stuff. Void talks about how he's read every single one of the new Star Wars books. I think maybe every single Star Wars book, but he's crazy excited about this. And I haven't been able to get myself super pumped about The Last Jedi, but I woke up this morning, my wife wanted me to watch The Force Awakens with her last night. I mean, she calls today Ray Day. And so I wanted to really get on here, test out the streaming, see how everything was working, and really just talk for a few minutes about the stuff that I want to see in The Last Jedi. Because, it's something that they've given Rian Johnson an entirely new trilogy set in another part of the Star Wars universe before this movie even came out. And that was something that Void and I were talking about on the podcast a couple of days ago, where when we were recording that we don't know how good The Last Jedi is, but given the kind of development hell that Solo has gone through and how little I actually liked Rogue One, that's a really, really good thing. Especially since they've brought J.J. Abrams back for Episode 9. So for Episode 8, the stuff that I noticed in The Force Awakens last night, I could go on and on and on about stuff. I could talk about Star Wars pretty much forever. But one of the things that I noticed was even in the opening crawl, they actually call Luke Skywalker the Last Jedi. So, we've all been thinking about all of the fun stuff that could be that title could mean, the end of the Jedi Order, all of this, and I'm not sure. It probably does. I mean, all of the titles have second meanings and third meanings and all of this, but I kind of hope that means that Luke is going to be the focus of this movie, and that then it's moved away from in Episode 9 to really focus on the new characters and the new mythos that they're setting up. So I didn't realize until last night that they actually call him the Last Jedi in the trailer to The Force Awakens, or in the crawl to The Force Awakens, the text going up. And Void and I were talking this morning, he watched it last night too. It was really interesting that we both woke up, texted the other, and was like, "Hey, I watched The Force Awakens last night." It's like, "Yeah, me too." So we were talking about it, and this is the first time that either of us noticed that the Force itself in The Force Awakens is never referred to as good and evil. There's talk of balance like there always has been, but they never speak about one side being good and one side being bad. That they talk a lot about the light and the dark. And Void on the podcast has talked a lot about how his favorite parts of Star Wars were when they discussed the aspects of the Force that were not necessarily good and evil, not necessarily light and dark, that there were these gray areas. And people have wanted to know about this for years and probably decades now. And one of the things that they were doing in the Old Republic MMO was that people really wanted the gray area to be fleshed out, because there was a light and dark system in there where, basically reputation, where you did good things or bad things on your choices and conversations. And so when they did that, you could stay neutral and you could stay within that gray area, but there wasn't really any reason to. You didn't get any kind of bonus. And in terms of the movie, I hope that we see that. I hope that we see the use of both sides of the Force through Rey or maybe Kylo Ren. And because they were only talking about the Force in The Force Awakens in such a way that they only ever referred to it as light and dark. That Kylo Ren was talking about the light pulling him and the darkness was there, and Maz Kanata was talking about the light and it being there, but just that was being aspects of the Force and that neither being good and evil. So if you've read any of the books, the old books, the Legends books, the New Jedi Order dealt with this a lot with Jacen Solo, where he kind of was this philosopher after being abducted by the Yuuzhan Vong, and he started really looking at how the Force worked, and eventually he fell to the dark side. He became Darth Caedus, and his sister had to kill him. All of this, he killed Mara Jade. All this, all of that stuff that you guys probably honestly already know. So when we get into the actual movies and we're working in canon, I'm kind of hoping that the Jacen Solo arc is honestly what they're doing with Kylo Ren, where except kind of reversed, because I fully expect by the end of this trilogy that he is going to be on the light side. I don't know, based on this, if on everything that's been going on, how they're going to handle Rey. I kind of expect them to make Rey go to the dark side, but I kind of hope not, because she's such a good role model for young girls and for me, and I mean, she's fantastic. So I don't know if they would do that just for marketing, but storytelling wise, I could totally see them doing that depending on how this movie handles the Force. Hi, Chocobo Chica. I see you in the comments. That's really what I wanted to talk about today. Like I said, I'm giving this a test. That's all this is. This was my test to see how the streaming was set up, if my restream worked. And if you like this kind of thing, we're talking about doing this as a podcast network with me, with Void, with Joe from Geektitude, Katie and Chelsea from Tea Time, Rob from the Comic Box, that we're all looking at different platforms that we can do with some live streaming and honestly community building and candidness and candor, that we want to get to know you guys. And this is fun. We'll probably be doing some video games. We'll probably be doing just some chats. We may even get on here and just talk about the stuff that we're really excited about, like Void and I do during Weekly Geekery. And so I've set up weeklygeekery.com. That is something that is still completely under construction, and right now all it does is show the Twitch stream. The Twitch stream and comments are embedded there, so you can go and check that out. This is also on our YouTube live channel, our YouTube channel. You can find the Geek to Geek Podcast Network, and I'm going to eventually have links to all of this, but I started working on this yesterday, so I don't have all of it done. You can always find us at geek2geekcast.com. We have a subreddit at /r/geek2geekcast, and on Twitter, as you can see here, that I'm at Professor Beej. So holler at me. Let me know what kind of content that you want for live streams from our entire network. And if you haven't listened to the podcasts, they're fantastic. We want to bring out things that everyone geeks out about. I mean, we've had on our podcast, on the Geek to Geek podcast, we have talked about knitting and woodworking and video games and travel and just all of the stuff that we love. On Geektitude, he talks about everything. Like, it's an interview show where he talks about everything from movies to books to video games and just the creators who are getting involved with this. Rob talks about fantastic stuff about comics, like if there is a new comic book movie coming out or TV show, he does the research to let you know what you need to know. And then he does recaps. He talks about what you should be reading right now. It's just good stuff. And Katie and Chelsea take everything and they geek out about everything that I want to geek out about. Like, they go from a general pop culture perspective. We have a Handmaid's Tale episode. They have a Titanic episode for the 20th anniversary. That just, this stuff is absolutely awesome. And if you're not listening to them, then you should. That said, this is the kind of content that we want on here, where it may not be long form. It's not necessarily going to be podcasty type stuff, but we want to be able to hop on, have some chats with you guys, know what's going on in your life, and honestly, just geek out together and be friends. So thank you for dealing with me while I'm testing out this stream and ramble about Star Wars for a little bit. If you don't get to see it tonight, I am terribly terribly, terribly sorry, because at 7 o'clock tonight, I'm going to be sitting in my theater all super comfy and enjoying myself, kind of nerding out, being the kid I used to be watching Return of the Jedi and scrubbing through dubbed VHS tapes to get to the best parts. I'm going to be that guy again tonight, and I cannot wait. So yeah, let me know what you think about the streaming ideas. Throw us a tweet, throw us some comments in the live chat as we do this, and I will see you next time, geeks. Bye.